This is the briefing for Wednesday, August 7th. I want to take a little bit different approach to the briefing today because I think there's some interesting things that developed in the markets today. I want to start out with the longer term and then bring it down into the shorter term. This is the spiders on a daily basis. Now, this move from the all-time highs is an impulsive move. Impulsive moves are typically marked by higher volume or an increasing volume, and typically large intraday moves or gaps in the market. And you can see there's several gaps here. So this is an impulsive move. So what we want to try to determine then is when you get a pause, like we know that markets run in pause in all degrees of time, when we get a pause, is that the change of the impulsive move, or is that a pause and a continuation of this move is still in the offing? So you can see in the Qs, we have the same thing. We have several gaps in the market, and then we have this pause that we're experiencing right now. And with the Russell, exactly the same thing. You can see the gaps that occurred. So this was an impulsive move. One of the other characteristics of a counter-trend rotation, which I discussed in last night's briefing, is they typically occur on lower volume. So you can see this move on the Russell. You can see the rotation up over the last couple of days. And you can see what's happening with volume. Volume is absolutely collapsing. Same thing with the Qs. You can see volume falling off in the Qs. And of course, in the spiders, the same thing, volume falling off. Now, we also have a slight divergence in market breadth in today's trading. Over yesterday, you can see we made a slight new high over yesterday's trading. And you can see breadth ended up being lower than it was yesterday. So now I want to switch to the shorter term. And I think this is important. In last night's briefing, I talked about the fact how this move here, this is a 60-minute chart for the spiders, the Qs, and the Russell, the IWM, how this move here was appeared to be a three-step counter-trend rotation. I discussed the characteristics of that is that typically it'll happen in 3 steps. Typically it's on lower volume. You can see volume falling off. And typically there is equality between legs 1 and 3. You can see leg 1, 2, and 3. And I put these red lines up here, red trend lines, which basically showed where equality was for each of these indices. So equality in the spiders came in right around the 528 area. In the Qs, it came in right around the 451 area. And in the Russell, it came in right around the 209 area. Now, these are just areas. They're not specific points. Sometimes they hit them exactly, and that's just luck on my part when I try to predict something like that. But you can see the area that it came to. So there was equality between legs 1 and 3. The Qs or the NASDAQ kind of missed the equality slightly, where the spiders were slightly above it. And then, of course, the Russell missed it slightly as well. So the real question facing us last night was whether this was a 3-step counter-trend rotation and it's complete and we're in the process of developing into another move to the downside, which would take out this low, or whether this could be developing into something more complex where this is a 1, 2, 3. This is a step 1 of a counter-trend move. This is step 2 in a counter-trend move, and step 3 is still yet to come. So I did some calculations. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes a leg 2 will equal 50% of leg 1. So I did the calculations. So on the spiders, if this is a leg 2, it would come in, 50% comes in right around the 521 area. So it's going to be right around this area. So you can see it came pretty close to it. We had a little bit of a sell-off going into the close. Now, if that is the case, then that's going to suggest that tomorrow we should see potentially some type of move back to the upside. If that occurs, then we have to look for equality between legs 1, legs 2, and legs 3 would project the spiders up to the 540 area, which is a very important key reference area longer term. So we have to watch out for that. Now, the same thing is true with the Qs. You can see this leg 1, 2, and 3. For a 1, this is a 2. It would project it down to 436. We came down to 434, so pretty close right there, and a 50% retracement. That would project the equality at the 461 level, which is this level right here in the Qs, and in the Russell it's the exact same thing. You can see that if this is leg 1 and this is leg 2, then it would project up to 213, which is this level right here. So that is one possible scenario in tomorrow's trading. Now, what would negate that, or at least increase the possibilities or the probabilities that this is developing into a 3-step counter trend rotation, would be trading through this low, which is the leg 2 of leg 1. I hope I'm not confusing people, but trading through 515 in the spiders would then suggest a test of the low from Monday. If that occurs, that low is going to get taken out. Trading through the 432 area in the Qs would open up the higher probability of testing the low from Monday, and that would get taken out. And the same thing with the Russell. It comes in right around the 201 area. If that's traded through, then the low from Monday would get tested and potentially taken out as well. Now, when I analyze this move here, this move still appears to me to be part of a counter trend rotation. And the reason for that is because volume was extremely low in today's trading. And you can see volume continued to fall off going into this. Breadth became fairly negative. It was positive at the open today, and breadth fell off as the market kind of ground itself lower. So this tells me that at least as of tonight's or today's closing, that this potentially is still part of a counter trend rotation. Now, what would change that? Changing that analysis would suggest trading below this 515 area, the leg 2, the low of leg 2, in the first step here, trading below that and volume increasing and breadth becoming even more negative. So we did close at the low of the day today, which suggests that potentially there would be follow through tomorrow, because it would have continued lower if the market hadn't closed at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So in summary, it appears that this is all part of a counter trend rotation to the impulsive move to the downside, and that as long as we hold above 515, the probabilities are higher that we're going to potentially see another leg back up to test the 540 area, for the 461 area in the Qs, and the 213 area in the IWM. Trading below these lows that I've just pointed out here would then suggest that that is negated, and that and assuming that volume is increasing on this move below this level here, if that occurs, that would increase the probabilities then that this is complete. This is the beginning of another thrust to the downside, and potentially this low, the low for Monday, is going to get taken out, and then we have to look at longer term levels of support for each of these indices. Now, looking at where we are in terms of overbought and oversold, in yesterday's briefing I talked about the fact that I had never seen this indicator showing an oversold level like we did on Monday as low as it was. But you can see that we've worked off that oversold condition very quickly. So it does suggest that's another characteristic of a counter trend rotation, is it works off an overbought or oversold condition quickly. So you can see how breadth deteriorated in today's trading, and we are basically neutral. So this gives us an indication that either of those scenarios is a possibility. And then looking at total volume, you can see how volume fell off. Volume continued to fall off in the NASDAQ as well. So watch these areas very, very carefully tomorrow. Trading above the 525 area, which is important resistance longer term. Trading above 530, which is the top of this leg 1, would suggest that 540 is going to get tested. Trading below 515 is going to suggest that the low from Monday is going to get tested and potentially taken out. What's going to be very, very important, which either direction we go, because today's trading was on very low volume, what's going to be important is if we break through these support and resistance areas I've just outlined, then volume needs to confirm that move. If it's not confirming the move, and we may trade down to 514, and then we could see another thrust back to the upside. But if volume is increasing below 515, that's going to suggest that the move is becoming impulsive again, and potentially we're going to see a continuation of this move to the downside. I'll pick this back up again tomorrow evening. Have a great night, and it's going to be a very, very interesting day to see how this potential analysis turns out by the end of the day tomorrow. Have a great night.